So, what up, everybody? We're live on the Where to Hunt podcast on Facebook and YouTube, depending on what you like better. Feel free to stream in either place. Somehow, shockingly, I have not missed a single Tuesday except for the time I was on vacation since March or something like that. And right on time, 7 o'clock, right on the money every time. So, quick shout out to my sponsor, Backwoods Grind Coffee. They power the show. They give me the energy to actually do this shit. And it's just really needed right now. My daughter's had a sore throat this week. She's been sick, so she hasn't been sleeping, and it's been a real grind. So for whatever reason, like, it's just been a rough week so far, and it's only Tuesday, and I'm actually literally, I feel like I'm running on Backwoods Grind right now. And so just a quick call out to them. If you're watching on the screen on the left, the code W2H podcast gets you 10% off. I would recommend their 6-pack sampler. You can try any and all of the blends. That's a great way to go. We'll move on and get to the meat of the show. Today on the line with me, I got Garrett Benner, the modern assassin. What up, dude?
What's happening, man?
Welcome to the show, man. I'm excited to have someone raw and authentic on the show, because if anyone ever listened to the East Coast Bowhunter podcast, for starters, those guys are legit. But I guessed on one of theirs, and I learned something about myself that I swear more than I thought I did. So
I heard that. I heard your episode with the East Coast as well. Yeah.
You might be letting them fly tonight. So if you're near your kids or something and they're not okay with dropping F-bombs, you might want to keep scrolling.
I knew I cussed whatever, and I get into, I guess, some rawer stuff, but I never really realized it as much until I started doing more and more podcasts, and all of them have disclaimers before announcing me coming on. I'm like, damn, did I really go that far off the rails with it? But I don't know, raw, real, no bullshit. Like you said, that's how I roll with it.
Dude, it's the best way to be. And speaking of Backwoods Grind, Jonathan Wilson, one of the co-owners, just waved hi. What's up, Jonathan? Thanks for tuning in, man. Your coffee's the bomb.
Cheers. Coffee keeps America running.
That's right,
Let's be real.
Dark coffee in the morning and scotch in the evening. I would say dark whiskey, but I'm a scotch guy.
I won't argue with you.
Let's get into it, dude. Tell me and the audience, the listeners, whether they're live right now or they're tuning in, as in podcast land later, a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? Do you hunt public land? How long you been hunting? What's your weapon of choice? All that good shit.
Yeah, Garrett Benner, better known as the Modern Assassin. Been hunting, really got serious into my college years. I gone hunting a little bit before that. I'm from Maryland, went to college in Western Maryland, which was a completely different environment from, more the agricultural area where I grew up. It's a lot more, you're in the Appalachians at that point, out there in Western Maryland where I went to college. And that's when I really focused on shooting a bow and learning how to bow hunt, because I needed something to do besides party and just, get into crazy shit in town. I needed something to get back out into the woods and do all that. I always kept fishing and all, and that's really when I started opening up the public land, because I didn't have, back home, I had grown up doing work for some different farmers. My grandparents knew some people. So I had some basic farmlands that I could hunt. And I did a little bit, but like I said, it wasn't until I got into college and really picked up the bow and everything and got dialed in with the bow that my whole, complete addiction for hunting started.
So you got sick of, well, maybe not sick of partying and chasing women and getting shit-faced, but definitely you're like, okay, I should probably look into doing something.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I was doing. So I needed something else to break that up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, I was there, man. I always say, so I'm 33. I think I'm 33. And it wasn't until 28, 29 where I even considered, slowing down in that stuff. And so honestly, I've really only been a productive member of society for the last 3 years, because prior to that, I wasn't doing much else other than, drinking and chasing. And it wasn't whitetails. I mean, it was, but not like seriously, not like I am now.
Not with the bow is what you're saying, just the arrow.
Just take it wherever it takes me. Yeah, man. So that's cool. And so, do you only hunt with a bow then, or are you using a gun at times? Because I know here in Wisconsin, like gun hunting is a practically a holiday for the state, and it's all about the camaraderie, right? But then we get all ninja and go bow hunting the rest of the entire season. So I'm wondering kind of what you're...
Yes, I mean, it's the same thing. Shotgun in Maryland's a big thing. There are certain parts of the state that do allow rifle, but for the most part, it's shotgun season. And yeah, same thing. Of course, there's a big tradition and everything behind it, but I don't just whitetail hunt or just big game hunt. I also big into waterfowl and hunting my dog. Little bit of small game, predator hunting, bow fishing. Like I do pretty much everything that they'll let me go chase. If you're going to sell me a license and a tag for it, I'm going to go after it at least a few times. You know what I mean?
So huge
that being said, bow, yeah, I mean, yeah, let's level the whole playing field out. Take a couple of everything, keep it even. But no, I am seriously a big conservationist too. But yeah, bow is my weapon of choice anymore for sure. Yeah, even this upcoming goose season in Maryland, right now we have been reduced to a season of just one migratory bird a day, which isn't even really worth going and setting all the shit up for.
That's crazy.
To be honest. So, yeah, they're just saying the number of breeding pairs in the Atlantic flyway and migratory, they're low, apparently. So, yeah, they're going to reduce our season to just one bird, is our daily bag limit, one bird. So since I know there ain't going to be a whole lot of guys out there, a lot of them are going to say, hell with this. They're going to go duck hunting instead or something else, or just go up into Pennsylvania where it's a bigger bag limit. I'm even going to try to take a goose with a bow this year. I've taken a couple geese on the ground with a bow. I even have a YouTube video of that, but I'm talking, my plan is to try to shoot a goose out of the air with a bow this upcoming year.
You got plans to catch that on film too, or what? Because that would be something to see, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I try to catch everything on film. Rarely am I not catching things on film. Really, the last animal I can think of was last season. I took a nice buck out in Ohio. Took it on the ground walking in. So I didn't have chance to set up and film. And most of the time I would have been, 99% of the time I would have let that deer just walk because I couldn't get it on film.
Yeah.
But it had been a rough couple days already. I had actually passed another nice deer, and this was just a mature deer in my face. Eye level on the ground, and I was at full draw, and I'm like, man, I'm not going to get this on film. And then I just thought to myself, this one's for me, and I let her rip. Perfect hard shot. It was pretty badass.
We were just kind of touching on that right before I hit the record button, that it's one of those things where I thought I was going to get into filming my hunts until I started getting to filming my hunts, and I was like, there's a lot of batteries. I got to waterproof this thing. I don't know which lens is the right lens for different things. I got to change that up. But it suddenly just started to take I just want to focus on the hunt, man. And it was really difficult to deal with. So a lot of respect for anybody, including you, obviously, that's doing that kind of work. But
I appreciate it. Especially because, I mean, if you've seen some of my YouTube videos, I've got oftentimes, 2, 3, even 4 or more different angles of everything going on. I don't have any remakes. If you see me clip my release on and draw back, that's the actual clip. That's the actual footage and actual time of me drawing back on that animal. That's not a retake. That's
You're not
not
setting
a
the camera
setup.
down and then walking up
If I happen
to get
to
some B-roll footage, you're like, no, I'm just going to shoot it as I see it right now.
Yeah, I set up to capture the entire hunt at once. I don't know. I hate it when you see, these guys have one camera and they're filming stuff, but then it's like, okay, then they do a retake of the guy grabbing his bow off of the bow hanger and picking up his rangefinder and ranging the deer and drawing back, and it's all fake. It's all just to get that camera angle and that footage to then splice in. And it's like, if you see me draw back on a deer, it's the real footage. You know what I mean? Or if you see me when I pick up my bow or do whatever I'm cutting to and doing, that's the real shit. Raw, real, no bullshit. There's no retake. There's no there's no Hollywood splicing. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's how I do this show, for the record. Like, so it's interesting. Everyone's like, dude, that's a lot to, record that live and have that interview front facing in front of everybody. What if something goes wrong? Shit has gone wrong, for the record. But I roll with it. And I also don't edit any of this stuff at all. And so it was funny because last week I was just dead tired, man. And whatever words came out of my mouth didn't actually make any sense. And I just let it be because that's who I am. Like, that's what's happening in my life right now. And that's how it's going to go. And I could have cut it and done something different, but I didn't. I think authenticity is a big, big deal right now in the world, and people can smell bullshit a mile away. So I dig it.
That is no bullshit right there. That's no bullshit. People pick up on bullshit, and I mean, they're like flies to it. You know what I mean?
Yep. And so, does that make it harder then to film the way that you do? Have you missed out any deer, for doing that, or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. There are definitely some deer that should be on my wall that I just have some film of or something like that. This past season, actually, I should have had a nice buck. But by the time I realized that he was a nice buck, it was the first day hunting public land. So I guess it's a good time to get into that, the public land. So I did, and probably still will do some private. But last year I completely abandoned all my private lands. I was having more problems with trespassers, people running dogs, people cutting firewood and everything else you can think of on my private land than I was encountering people in public. So I pretty much abandoned all my private lands and went to public. And the morning of the first sit, I had 3 does come in, and I had found a bedding area, and I figured out, what wind they'd be using it on and why and where I expected bucks to be checking this bedding area. And had 3 does working their way back to the bedding area in the morning. And about 10-15 minutes later, here comes a buck coming right down the same trail, and he's directly behind me, the way I'm in my lone wolf climber, and the does are out to my right. And so the does are at my 3 o'clock, and this buck is coming in at 6 o'clock. And I look behind me, and I can see him. He's coming in, and his right half, he's just a giant 3 points. And I'm like, man, that's a pretty big deer. Like, he's got some big long tines and all, but I was like, first morning in the spot, it seems good. And I didn't walk this far back in public land to drag a 6-point out. So thinking I'm just going to get some footage of him, kind of turn toward the does and get the camera and everything that way. And last second, I guess he decided those does weren't putting off the smell that he was looking for. And instead of cutting to the right, he cut to the left. And I just very slowly turned around, and because I had to watch, the does are watching him. So I had to be very careful about my movement since I'm kind of in between them. I didn't want to alert the does. And I was just going to get footage of this buck. And when he came out and is directly in my shooting lane as I'm getting the camera over, that son bitch had at least 6 points on his left side alone.
Holy shit.
So, yeah, he was kind of a freak. He only had 3 points and a big 3 points, just a big fork and giant brow tine on the right side. So I figured he was just a big 6 point. And nah, he came out and he's standing there crossed right through my shooting lane and everything. And I didn't even have my bell in my hand, nothing. So I grabbed my bell and I thought, okay, where am I going to get another hole? And got the camera ready and everything. And he just trotted over the hill and said, see ya. But, if I had had my bell in my hand and not worrying about film and footage, that would have been a good one dead. And would have been really cool abandoning all my private land, going and scouting all this public land, thinking that was the spot I needed to be, waited for the right wind, used the access I had picked out for that wind and everything. And, I almost got it done 2 hours into the first hunt in there. Like I said, unfortunately, well, maybe I'll run back into him, but for now, he got to go.
Fuck. Yeah, and you're still
yeah, it's happened more than once.
And so then what? Then you're like, that's it. I mean, that's just part of that process. That's how that shit goes, right? Like you just
that is part of that process. And here's the thing. I used to be big into skateboarding and everything and started filming everything and shit. So when I got serious into hunting in college, for my college graduation present, my parents got me a camcorder. And I just started filming all my hunts, every single hunt. And here's the thing about it, you're saying, I don't really feel like dealing with the camera today and charging the batteries and making sure the memory card's clear and all the settings are right. Well, I do that with 3-4 cameras at a time. I'm doing all that with. It's a real pain in the ass, but it's a dedication that I put myself to and I just always stuck to. And now it's literally having all that stuff and doing all that stuff is absolutely the same as making sure you got a pull rope for your bow, making sure you got your release. It's 100% all. To me, the camera arm and the camera is just the same as a bow and quiver. I just don't hunt without it.
Well, I was talking to, my buddy Garrett.
It'd be like going into the woods. It'd be like going in the woods and hunting, but only sometimes taking your bow. So it's like, well, if you want to get a shot on film, you better take the camera every time, just like you take your bow every time. You know what I mean?
And you
don't know when that opportunity is going to happen.
Like you don't want to be like just it's in your pack and you're bringing it along because the second something happens, you're not going to be digging around and trying to get this thing out of there. You need to have it ready to go. So that's why I couldn't wrap my head around it, dude. Where I was like, shit, so I got to have this thing on like all the time. It's like baseball. You get 99% of it's boring as shit, but when that shit pops off, man, it is the most exciting 1% of that makes it all worth it.
Yeah, and like for instance, I found running. I'll put GoPros on the ground out where I think deer will be crossing trails, things like that. I'll have, which is the dumbest thing to do, is go where you think a deer is going to cross. Go walk there and leave something. That's the dumbest thing you can do, but I mean, it's just the dedication I've tried to get it on film. That's why I love turkeys. They just don't give a fuck, and it's awesome. You can set up a GoPro eye level with them 3 feet from a decoy, and they're like, oh, what's that funny grass thing? Oh, whatever, I'm going to go right this rubber looking turkey.
Well, every time you do that, you probably get a
they just don't care.
Well, I was saying my buddy Greg Tubbs, who I do the Huntland show with, he was just talking to me the other day about he's got like a home-baked, DIY camera arm that he made. And he's like, dude, it's not good. I'm just chomping at the bit to get something new. Sounds like he might be waiting for something. Maybe he knows something.
Yeah. My inbox is seeing Greg's name a few times. He and I have talked back and forth. He seems like a good guy. I haven't actually spoke with him, but just through messages and all. Yeah, myself and Matt Garrett from Out on a Limb have been working on a camera arm, a complete camera arm system. The base, the arm, everything. Looking to have the details on it, and that's what Greg keeps asking me, man, what's going on with this? When's it going to be out? What's the cost on it? Yeah, he's been trying to get all the details, and I ain't holding them back from him, so I hope you don't think it's that. We've just really been trying to work out all the manufacturing costs, everything else, make sure everything is right before it comes out. I'd hate to rush something out and something not be up to my standards or Matt's standards. So we're getting everything together, and hopefully by the end of this week, we will be releasing details on price and pre-order for the Assassin Reach camera arm system.
Boom. Dude, that's what it's going to be called, the Assassin Reach?
The Assassin Reach. Yep.
I saw an Instagram post the other day of you talking about it. But let's talk about, we can just kind of weave back and forth through some of these things. The video that caught my attention the other day was, look, man, I fucking hate mosquitoes. I call them devil bugs. I don't think that there's anything I hate more than mosquitoes. Red lights are a close second, but dude, I don't like mosquitoes. Like, they're pretty unbearable for me. They ruin a couple hunts. And it is what it is. Maybe I'm a little bitch, and that's fine. But you were shirtless in a tree in the woods in the thick of it, and I was like, wait a second, dude, you must be getting bit up like crazy. Then you zoom out, and not only are you in a saddle, you got your camera arm set up, you got your bow, you even put a freaking target out, and you're like, dude, no, I got to do the full thing. I got to act like this is the game, because this is the game. Let's just talk about
Yeah, man, like I always say, practice like you play. Practice like you play. If you want to be the best you can be from shooting out of your tree stand, well, why aren't you out there practicing shooting from your tree stand? You know what I mean? If you want to be the best shooting from a saddle, get up there and start doing it. There's nothing like real life simulation. Perfect example, and I actually think I gave this as a ninja tip on East Coast Bow Hunting podcast, is when I get up in a tree, say it's I like to mobile hunt, and especially last year going into all the new publics. When I get set up in a tree, I look around, and if it's I'm like, if this is where I want to be and not, I want to go up a little bit higher, maybe face this way. Once I got everything ready and I'm ready to hunt, I pick up my bow and I draw back. And then I know, okay, oh, yeah, I thought I could shoot on this side of that, that tree, but no, I'm going to have to wait till the deer clears that for me to actually have a shot. Or, oh, well, my arm is hitting this branch, so I can't really shoot that position. And anything you do to make yourself familiar with any type of situation or action, makes the next situation or action smoother. So if you've already seen what it looks like and felt what it's like to draw your bow in that tree stand setup you've got going on, when you get opportunity and you go to draw back, it's already familiar. It's already some muscle memory, some mental recognition. And I think that really helps a lot. And that's why I'm out there practicing the different methods of what I want to do, figuring out where I want to be, where I'm going to have this camera arm, and doing the thing for real. Like you said, like I'm actually in the game.
Well, there's something said about muscle memory, dude. Like, that's what the military teaches. It works, and you get repetition. I'm not saying you're building a muscle memory by doing it that way, but that dose of familiarity. I read David Goggins' book, and he talks a lot about, like, hey, look, it isn't cheating, but if I go run the course before I go run the course, I'm going to have a good idea how my body's going to respond to when I get to that fucking hill, and I'm going to know how to deal with that and how to pace myself. And that's it, man. That's not many people go about it that way. I don't know very many people that did what you did, right? I think we all kind of fuck around and half-ass it in practice because it's really hard to fake it if it's not for real. And it's a weird mental thing. Like, I've been in sales my entire life, and there was a point in time we used to do like role plays, right? And I could never do it, man. It just felt too weird. I'm like, look, I'll show up when I show up. I can't do this fake stuff. But it's super important to go through those motions and cut it up a little bit. Otherwise, you could get totally, off guard with some things.
It is, and I mean, and when you take into something like bow hunting, where you're doing all this in hopes that you get that one opportunity, and that's one opportunity to capitalize or fuck up on.
Yep.
And if you haven't been practicing, you're probably going to fuck up on it. And, I do practice pretty diligent, and I've had just some, call it buck fever or whatever you want to call it. There was a buck I hit high, was it 2 years ago when I was hunting Ohio, I rattled in this giant that just came in from nowhere behind me. And when I got turned around, he got a little alerted to something going on. He got out to 30 yards, and in my mind, I know, okay, this buck's at 30 yards. He's quartering away from me, and he's on pins and needles. He's going to drop when I shoot. So hold a little low. Well, in the heat of the moment and knowing, okay, he just caught me at the end of my draw, I got to let this rip. I put my 30 pin right in the middle. I let it rip, and of course he dropped. I hit him high, and I think it was either 48 or 58 days later that buck came back into that same area, and we got a trail cam picked on him.
Well,
but that's the thing. That heat of the moment, I mean, I know damn well that he was going to drop, but that just, in the few seconds I had, it hadn't crossed my mind. So anything to prepare yourself to maybe even cut out a millisecond of what you're doing could make the difference in I call that the buck that broke me, because it really kind of messed me up mentally for a little while the rest of that season.
I got a silly story that's nowhere near as cool that we'll touch on. But real quick, man, we got our first caller on the line to join in our conversation. We got Ryan Davis out of Ohio. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in.
Oh shit! I was in the tree with him. The story I'm telling right now.
What's up, Ryan? Thanks for calling.
No bullshit.
What's up, guys?
Yeah.
Your ears must have been ringing, man.
Oh, I was listening to
I was just telling him about the 8-pointer down the arena that stepped out of Gold's Gym and right in front of us, and I stuck high. I was just telling that story.
I was just listening to that, man, and hey, thanks for having me on, by the way. I appreciate that. Shabeen. I'll never forget that hunt.
So
that was a tough one on me, man.
And you're out of Ohio, Ryan?
Yep, I'm in Coshocton, Ohio.
I've
been hunting here. Grew up in Ohio.
Like a town called Little Rock or something like that, or not Little Rock, that'd be Arkansas. It was like
Little
Rock or Rock River or something with a rock. It wasn't too far out of Cleveland.
Okay, so up north.
Yeah, I think so. But I'm geographically challenged.
That'd be Cleveland's about. Yeah, I'm centralized. Cleveland would be 2.5, 3 hours north from where I'm located. But yeah, man, what a great state to hunt.
And that's where you're doing your hunting.
You got
Garrett,
some good
right?
deer and some good land. Say again?
You're doing some of your hunting. Like we've talked about, Michigan's come up a couple times. Now you're in Maryland. Are you jogging up to Michigan for deer hunting, it sounds like?
I have not done Michigan, but I go out to Ohio and Ryan's farm. Ryan, the guy we're talking to right now, his farm is one of the places that I frequent when I'm out there. Ryan's like another brother to me. We met a couple years ago through bow fishing and tattooed in the wild and, just filming and doing our shit. And we started hanging out, and, Ryan and Keith and I, the whole Tattoo in the Wild crew out of Ohio there, we just kind of became family. And so every year when it gets close to Halloween in the rut, Ryan knows I'm going to be slipping in his door and crashing on his couch and chasing some of them whitetails.
Oh, yeah, man. That's freaking cool. How big is your farm?
We have about 150 acres that we manage. We've been managing the property for, we're going on 7-8 years now.
Wow.
And it just keeps getting better every year, So the work pays off.
So you must be doing something right, or a couple of things right.
Yeah, we're blessed. I mean, I'm fortunate to have a great piece of property. It's I call it a deer utopia, man. It's got ridges, valleys, creek bottoms, hardwoods, thickets, you name it. It's got it. It's a stretch of property that it's only 150 acres, but it really hunts like 300-400 acres, and Garrett can testify to that. Just hunting it, let alone. But then even when you walk it, shed hunting, it's you get beat down, man. It's a crazy terrain, and it's a great place to find some big whitetails, man.
So did it get better?
Yeah, when he says ridge, it
I didn't hear you, buddy.
I was gonna say, did it get a lot better once you started letting Garrett hunt it?
I'm telling you what, man. This dude brings something with him, and it's never short from something crazy when we get in the tree together. And it's we've got some crazy footage from the buck that you were talking about earlier, Garrett. You shot him high. I mean, that was a insane hunt. Nothing going on the first couple hours. You just rolled in that night. I think you had everything he touched.
That was that was the trip. I literally had a tire come off my truck on the way there, and then got out there at like 3 a.m. and maybe had an hour sleep, if that, before we went out hunting. Yep, that was that trip.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
I mean,
but Eric, you being a big public land guy, this is kind of a cool situation. This is something Ryan and I guess have talked about a little bit, but never really dove into too much. So, this is kind of going to be a question for you, Ryan. You guys have been managing that farm for a few years. You've been hunting that farm since your childhood. You got a pretty good idea of what's going down. And me coming from a different hunting style and touching on a lot of public properties, when I come in, like you said, it's never short of crazy when I'm out there because it's always something different.
Right.
It's different than the way you guys hunt it. I guess the way maybe I look at it, the way I approach it. And I think that may have even been what kind of led to some of, that late season buck you shot this year. Is that safe to say?
Are you just saying like your public land mentality and approach and style and applying that to
yeah, when you have a farm, especially a farm you've had for a long time, you kind of have your spots. More, stand set, and of course, they have different stand set in different areas for different winds or different times of the year, different food sources, all that. They play into all that. But sometimes I look at them like, well, man, I kind of want to sit down there because of this. You know what I mean? So even though they had an array of stand set, and Ryan, I can't thank him enough. He gives me full run of the farm pretty much. If I'm like, hey, I want to go hunt there, say good fucking luck, or he'll be in the tree with me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But even then, a lot of times, even though the stands and everything are already set, I'm going in with my climber. We're taking a different path in, just trying to look at something, I guess, just kind of out of the box. And you hunted a spot this year that I don't think you really hunted before, and you hunted it differently, kind of based on some of the observations you and I had made in the stand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the property contour is pretty rugged. I mean, it's a huge ridge. I mean, we're talking a big ridge, and we were just seeing a lot of bucks. We have a centralized food plot. It's about 2.5 acres that we put in year after year, and that kind of changes things as far as my opinion on a private property. You establish a huge food. I mean, it's a food source. I mean, it's not a food plot, in my opinion. I think, Garrett, you said that before. It was like, you haven't planted a food plot. You've got a food source. And that kind of
a viable source. Yeah.
So with that being said, we started noticing more bucks on a certain side of the ridge, and we were kicking them up, and we were just like, we got to figure out how to get it done. And actually, where you shot your buck, was it this year? I shot mine, I don't know, 150 yards up the ridge from where you shot yours. So I mean, it was really not. I can't say it's always a challenge, but we knew where a lot of deer were traveling, so we knew we needed to be there. Long story short, so we set up, and I did this last year, and then this year I got myself in a situation where I'm down to the last couple weeks, and I haven't punched, I haven't thrown my tag yet. So that's when I really started feeling some pressure. But my friend Keith from Tattoo in the Wild, he gave me the extra boost, because I was kind of like, well, there's always next year, and he told me, he's like, get your ass up in that stand and hunt, and I got up there, and oddly enough, it was a buck that I had previous pictures in early season. I had him in velvet, oddly enough, with another buck that Keith's wife shot the second day of bow season. They had a picture of them together, and blessed enough, this guy stuck around, and he walked in that night, freezing cold, and I was able to get it done that night. So I was really humbled by the fact that, we're able to hunt what we have as a private landowner, and that really means a lot, to just be able to hunt your own property, to me. But with this tying in with everything, this mobile hunting, the saddle system you guys are talking about, practicing, Garrett, you up there. Look, tonight I was in a stand, covered in, or not a stand, in the saddle, covered in mosquitoes. Like, what am I doing? But I got to practice. I'm not used to this, so it's something repetition will pay off, and I'm practicing every week, 2 or 3 times, to just get familiar with getting up a tree, getting set up, shooting a bow. So the mobile hunting aspect is, to me, a game changer, not only for obviously private land, but man, possibilities are endless, especially in the public land aspect.
Yeah, it's a big deal in public, because you get out there and you're going to find real quick that someone's going to be a lot closer than you thought, or right in the exact spot you were thinking about going, because they beat you to it, or, they're coming up on you. And so, like, the mobility thing, I challenged a couple people on the show a couple episodes back, and, because we talk about hang and bang and mobile hunting and run and gun and all of these things. But in my experience in the past, it had always mostly been the case that, I had a climber and I had sticks, and once I get in a tree, like, I'm parked there for a good chunk of time. Like, it's not common to then tear all of that down to just move a couple trees over. And we found that some people do, in fact, do that, but others are like, yeah, no, I'm posted up here. I just still have to work to hang this thing. I'm not going to take it down. But it's mobile in the sense that you can change every different time you go. Taking that extra layer deeper, a lot of people, it sounded like, in the midst of that one hunt, they're picking their spot and they're sticking there for that moment. But then you get into the whole chase them on the ground kind of thing too, and that's a whole nother world. But the saddle hunting, to me, is super interesting. I haven't done it yet, but I can't help ignore it, because it's showing up everywhere.
Well, I mean, as far as, even when I hunt Ryan's property, I have a spot in mind. This is where I'm going. This is where I'm setting up. This is what I'm doing. And if the sun comes up and I'm just like, well, this isn't right, I need to be 40 yards that way, I've stuck it out before, and most of the time I regret it. And as much, and like you said, especially carrying camera gear and everything, you got twice as much gear. It's twice the pain in the ass.
Yep.
But I hate sitting there feeling like I'm off the sidelines and not in the game. If I don't feel like I'm there on the playing field, I will sit there and just kick my own ass and just feel guilty for not getting down and doing it, to where now I pretty much go for it. And bringing back the whole mobile thing, I had slept in the morning I killed my buck from the ground. That was on Ryan's property as well. I had slept in because I woke up and it was just pouring. I mean, like complete downpour. And I was like, there's no point in me getting soaking wet and then going in, for a whole day sit soaking wet. I was like, I'm going to wait for the rain to stop. I'll be just after sunup, and I'll sneak in then. And on my way out the evening before, I had found some fresh scrapes while I was accessing one of the stands, and they were fresh. And so that morning, I even told Ryan, I'm going up the hill and I'm going to the left. I started going up the hill, and I was like, man, I really feel like whichever buck made them scrapes, he's new on the farm, I think. I said, and I think he's going to want to come refresh them scrapes after this rain. And I started walking that direction, and we walked right into each other. And that's exactly how it went down. And, Ryan, where you killed yours, you just kind of see, you notice from your typical lock-on stands that stay from year to year, you noticed what the deer were doing, tried to find them earlier, and I mean, you kind of went mobile hunt on your private land. You went and got another stand, went and set it up and everything where you knew the action was going down, because the deer were kind of working in between, and I guess it had maybe even patterned you a little bit.
Absolutely, G. I mean, and that's why I'm so excited to get my rear end in a saddle, because I've noticed in the past I've encountered some of the bigger bucks that I've ran into on a drastic move. Not just me personally, but the first the first nice buck that we filmed for Tattooed in the Wild was with Keith and I on his property. And the day before, we were out at his family's farm, and we were noticing a lot of activity just 70 yards from where we were at, and we're like, man, we gotta make a move, So we moved our set that night in the dark, and then got back up that next morning, went out, and he was rattling, and we had a big buck, mature buck coming in from him rattling, and he was with a doe, and she didn't, she knew something was up. She didn't like what was going on, and she kind of like hesitated and walked away. He followed her, but we were able to rattle in that big 6. I mean, this sucker came in just pissed off, digging at the ground, all swelled up. He had one eyeball, and that was our first film. So that, to me, like, being able to be mobile and make those adjustments, I mean, I'm really stoked this year to get up in a saddle, because you were right, G. You told me once you try this out, you're going to look at every tree a little differently. And man, I'm walking around, and I'm like, oh, I can post up here today if I can do anything I want, and that's
Hold on, did you guys
freedom.
Did you guys just hear something?
Woo-hoo! Shabine.
Bunch of Shabiners.
Dude, no, but Ryan, you're totally right about that. Like, the flexibility you get from picking any tree, that's a whole nother ballgame.
It was actually before even before I had a saddle in the woods with me. I knew Drew. I had got familiar with the saddles and everything, but I hadn't jumped on it because I hadn't figured out how I wanted to film yet. And as we spoke before, filming the hunt is just as important as making the shot. So I hadn't come up with how I was going to do that yet. But just knowing the versatility of the saddle, and again, like Ryan said, I told him, I said, you're going to look at the woods differently. Like, you're going to just look at, where you didn't think there was opportunity before, there absolutely is. And one of the things I've noticed about just even my saddle practice setups and everything is a lot of times I seem to be climbing and staying lower in the tree instead of kind of getting above that first canopy layer and finding holes. A lot of times I'm finding with the saddle that if I get right in there with that canopy layer, it hides me more and opens up even more shot opportunity.
Yeah, I need to interrupt. Can y'all hear me right now?
Yeah,
Because I don't think you heard who. Yo,
I hear D-Rock.
Did you guys know?
This for y'all right here. This for y'all. Shabine.
Dude, I cracked a beer earlier and said Shabine. I was like, oh, yeah, I ain't on East Coast. Just ingrained in my head, man. A podcast and a beer. Of course it's a Shabine.
I'm going to bust D-Rock's balls, but I still didn't get my Shabine shipped here to Wisconsin, so I'm Shabine-less. But
That's my bad.
You like Shabine, or are you stuck on that mother's milk?
I don't know how else to get that freaking beer here.
No, that's my bad, Doug. That's my bad. That's on me for sure. I totally forgot. I've been so swamped with everything. Between the show and then trail cams and scouting, it's like that's definitely on me. My bad. I'll make that happen. Actually,
you could have ran here by now.
Yo,
it's damn good beer. Don't let him off the hook on that.
Fucking with you,
hey,
man.
look,
Come
these
on.
guys.
We'll give you a hug later.
G's like, hey, I'm coming out to your house with this dude D-Rock. I'm like, sweet. He's like, man, he's sponsored by Shabine. I'm like, well, let me, I gotta get some. Let me. He's like, I'll bring you a 12-pack, bring a case. I'm like, sweet. And they're on the road coming out to Ohio, and Garrett calls me and he's like, man, I got bad news. He's like, I couldn't get you a case of that beer. I'm like, oh, no worries, man. He's like, no, I brought you 2 kegs. I was like,
Shout
out to D-Rock and the John Beer for that.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks,
John Beer, baby.
It's my pleasure. If I'm coming to your crib, you best believe I'm going to have a trunk full of Shabine beer. So I make it happen.
Indeed, you did.
Word. Yo, Eric, my word, though, I'll definitely have Shabine shipped out to you this week, without a doubt.
Well, I'm bringing some new flavor out of Wisconsin to the shoot. I'll be bringing some Hubbleton, so we can have a Hubbleton Shabine freaking drink off and see how it goes. I think you got me beat, though.
Word.
Cheers. Let's do it.
Yeah, cheers. Cheers to that. Hey, yo, my boy Ryan, man, what's good, man?
Man, it's all good.
Yeah, all good.
Good here, baby. We're here in Ohio.
Hell yeah, I can't wait to hunt Ohio this year. Yo, it's going to be one for the reckoning. Not to switch subjects, because I know Garrett's probably talking about his fucking hot shot in Ohio. Slaying, shooting that perfect shot. I mean, shit. All power to him, because that dude's a slayer. But it's yeah, man. It's a tight niche group. I consider Ohio East Coast. Some people consider it Midwest. Honestly, all said and done, they're Middle Easterns.
That's where they come to meet, man.
We're there, baby.
Yeah.
6-hour drive to Maryland.
So I'm hanging out with a bunch of Middle Easterns and Mexicans. Great.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. That's my hunt camp, and I'm cool with it.
Hey, man. I don't know if y'all know this, but the freaking tagline for the podcast is connecting public land hunting enthusiasts. I don't know any other podcasts where y'all can just jump in and join each other here, but this is happening. I'm just saying. I'm just freaking saying.
I love it. I'm down with it, man. I dig it.
Hell yeah, that's what it is. Not to sleep on the private, because private land is a lot of hard work.
You're damn right.
No, it's a lot of hard work. But you know what? Public land. I mean, I feel like it's almost competition, man. And hunting isn't competition, but a good ninja tip to the show is, you see someone coming in, because, if you're that diehard motherfucker that's in there hours before everyone else, and you see someone coming in with their little green light or red light, what have you, just give them a couple flashes of that white light. Let them know where you're at, so this way they know, oh, shit, I don't want to fuck up his spot, and let him go somewhere else. And then with mobile hunting, I heard Ryan and Garrett talking about, saddle hunting with the wild edge steps, and maybe arrow hunter saddle, or what's soon to come even better than that is sometimes you can just break down and move your spot if you have a newbie fucking up your shit. You know what I mean? Which is all good. We encourage new guys in the field to fuck up so they can learn. Give them that bright light, make them turn like Gizmo and be like, oh, bright light, and let them go the other way. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
Midnight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that topic, D-Rock, I mean, I'm loving the fact that I'm actually on this podcast, getting to talk, talk about if you want to go there, public versus private. I don't know. I haven't been really too much involved with, like, if there is controversy, if there's some beef, I doubt there is. We all love what we do. We're outdoorsmen. We love to hunt. But it is a topic, none the least.
Here's my take on it. I've hunted.
Yo, G. I'm sorry, dog. I'm sorry. I just want to hear what Ryan has to say real quick because I haven't talked to him in a minute. So my apologies, Doug. I just want to hear what Ryan has to say.
You've been hiding in the ghetto.
Yeah, you know. Well, what are you saying,
Look,
though? Yeah.
This is something that's really, I talk to Keith on a daily basis, and we're primarily, I have no shame saying it, I grew up. I have options to hunt several different properties through Keith. To me, it's still on the private. It's more meaningful to me to harvest the deer off of my own property that's been handed down generation by generation, right? So we'll leave it at that.
Awesome,
that's a lot of pride in me. So I'm interested in just what you were talking about because I don't, if I see a green light on somebody, somebody's headlamp walking up on me when I'm in a tree stand on my private property, we got an issue, so I'm not used to that. I'm not used to, hey, flash your light, you got to go somewhere else. It's not like that, and I'm blessed, and I'm thankful for that. So that's an extra challenge to me, which I'm going to indulge in this year. Is I'm going to hunt some public some public property. If I haven't punched the tag, I'm gonna jump on some public property and see what that's all about because it's a challenge to me because there's so much more variables than you would normally encounter on a private land compared to a public land. So to me, that's a challenge, and I'm down for that. I'm can't wait.
So
Amen,
it's funny
brother.
because
Amen.
I'm real quick. I'll say I'm the first. This is Eric, so I'll just say real fast, D-Rock. I'm the first to say, by the way, like if I had the funds to go get private land, you bet your freaking ass I'd be doing it. So, and not to mention, man, like I know guys that have it and they're out working right now, plotting fields, laying down minerals, taking care of their herd, laying up trail cams, like doing all that shit. I'm not doing any of that, right? I just got to show up. So it's, much respect, dude. I don't want to get it twisted that it's just two different worlds.
Well, for me, man, it's for with all I can say about for what we do on private piece of property, we do everything we can do to increase your odds. That's all it's about. It's like increase the odds of you getting that encounter.
Yep.
You're able to control it a little more, obviously, with a private piece of land. Which, I guess if you want to get into the dispute, yeah, that's a benefit. That's a huge benefit where you're able to control your environment. Man, what a big advantage. And that's what's nice about private land hunting. But I am a competitor. I am a challenge seeker. So if it's something new and something that's different, now that, I owe it to you. You got this saddle system in my hands. I'm using it. And I cannot wait to just use my experience, my knowledge, what I've learned from a kid to now as a hunter to go out and do it where other people are frequently traveling, And I know, how you hunt, especially when you get in that sick of shit out in the swamp. You told me you got to go further than anybody else goes. So
hell yeah. Gee, dive in right now, man, because I know you.
Well, yeah. What I was going to say is Ryan and I have talked about this. Yeah, right. D-Rock's good at that too. But yeah, so what I was saying is Ryan and I have talked about this about maybe going out to some public land when we're in Ohio this year, even though he has 150 acres of land that he is tailoring, partially tailoring the land for whitetail habitat, for whitetails to want to be there. he had opportunities to go with Keith and other people on properties for known big deer in the area. And Ryan chose, no, I want to get it done on my property. So, in a way, the private was almost limiting him, but that was his choice. And you know, a lot of guys think that, if you're hunting private land, you're not really hunting. Well, I tell you what, it has nothing to do whether that land is private, whether that land is public. What it has to do with, is there deer there? And if there's deer there, how much pressure by humans is there? If you have a piece of private land, and what's up?
Yo, not to interrupt because this is getting really good, but I give different variables to private land because, I mean, you have my scenario of private land.
Well, that's what I was...
scenario of private land and Ryan's scenario of private land. Like, there's many variables in private land that's even worse than public land.
Absolutely. If you have a lady that every day drives her golf cart around and has her 2 dogs following her, guess what? That private property sucks for deer hunting. I'm going to tell you right now.
Sounds like you're speaking from experience.
You know, I have a piece of property. I have a piece of property that's great until October. As soon as that rolls around, there's guys that start running their coonhounds and foxhounds and shit. Well, guess what? When they run through, the deer run too. You know, the private and public thing can change real quick. It's all about pressure. It's not about private, public, who can be there. It's about who is actually there. Not even just who's hunting it, but who's there, who's putting pressure on deer.
Just tell golf cart lady to do that shit every day of the year, and the deer will just get used to it, and then you'll be good.
You know what, Eric?
You know, then you got a petting zoo. Yeah.
Well, it's straight up. It's, you know what? Thank you for saying that, Eric, because the petting zoo is like, I was going running for the other day. One of my private pieces, I've been running a lot, mainly because of my wedding, but more so driven for hunting abilities. And the other day I posted something, turkeys. We're out of turkey season. It's almost like the turkeys know. I was 10 feet away from these motherfuckers, and I'm running, and I stopped to take the video. And, of course, shout out to Whitetail Drifter, Connor Wakefield. He's like, oh, get out of your petting zoo. But he don't even know the pressure in my private lands. It's like I have 20 acres that abut another 40 acres that I have that abut another 120 acres that I just gained. It's like people don't even know the management that it takes to get into the hunting field, especially in the hood. It's like we're getting people in private land driving through with UTVs, ATVs. I mean, just everything. Even poachers. And you know what? That's, in my area, personally, inner city, for me to gain that much acreage was so much work. And then on top of it, to try to manage all the people around it is like, people don't know. Private, I want to say in my scenario, private is a lot harder than public. Because in public, at least they know what to expect. In private, I mean, there's many different variables, man. And not to get off subject on that, but I mean, that's what it is, man. So anyone hunting public is like, I tip my hats off to you. But when it comes to private, it takes a lot of fucking individual work. You know, you really have to dedicate yourself to that. It's crazy.
All right, D-Rock, get the fuck off the show. No, I'm just kidding. That's a good point, buddy.
I think that's the first time you swore at me.
No way. No way.
I think so.
I think it's just when just D-Rock's around, you let loose.
Yeah, that's what happens. This happens to my brother-in-law in town. He brings it out, and then my buddy Chris, a.k.a. Rosie, there's like a few people that when I'm around him, this other freaking character comes out. Maybe it's E-Rock. I'm not sure. But it's pretty funny.
I mean, he hits a point, man.
It's you damn Clark boys.
You're right on that, man. I'm in the middle of, you know, the personal work that goes into managing a property is pretty in depth. I mean, I got a freaking old tractor that my that G's worked on with me before. I had this thing in 2 different pieces because we broke the PTO shaft. You know, now I can't do shit. I can't, you know, can't bush hog, can't do nothing, can't clear paths. You know, so it's like it's a full-time commitment if you want to have a good property. It goes way beyond just putting a food plot in. It's like, do you have the equipment? Do you have the knowledge, the resources? So,
dude, but that work breeds a lot of pride, man, and you got to feel really good about it. Like you said, I think that's really special. There's a lot of intrinsic value in all that shit.
Yo,
yeah,
since we're on this subject right now of hunting lands and private public, G, why don't you disclose on this podcast your recent endeavors? And you have some real good footage coming to fruition with Tack Driver. Can you dip into that, bro?
Yeah. Actually, it was to Brian in Ohio on Ryan's farm. Ryan was out at a different spot. I was with Keith. But yeah, filmed my first footage for Tack Driver TV this year out there, which is you know, we'll wait until that comes out to let everybody see what it is, but you know, and let's just say it's raw, real, no bullshit style.
Hell yeah.
Dude, that's cool. That's freaking cool.
Well, and what just give a little teaser, G. What kind of game was it?
That was turkeys.
That was a turkey
Hell
game,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, I can't wait to see that, especially on Tack Driver and the Pursuit channel. That's going to be something to be said for sure. Because I don't think they've had that on their show. So I mean, shit, that you're bringing something new to the game, especially on that network. That's going to be dope.
Well, and I was shooting that solid decap to try to get the craziest footage I could. You know, people have seen turkeys get shot, but I wanted to get that decap footage. You know.
Hell yeah, man! No, you did an awesome job.
That's freaking cool, man.
I went back to that damn spot and didn't get a damn turkey at all. Same spot.
Yeah, it was kind of tough, wasn't it?
Man.
It was wild that one morning. The whole rest of the time was quiet.
Yep.
Well, shit, guys. Ryan, D-Rock, thanks for calling in. As the host, I got to keep things moving along here. So, you guys got anything else you want to say or add?
Absolutely.
Honestly,
appreciate you letting us get on this crazy tune here. I appreciate the talk, and can't wait to do it again in the future.
Hell yeah. And to piggyback off of that, again, you know, Eric, thank you for consistently letting me chime in.
Yeah,
because I don't know if your listeners are sick of hearing me or not, but at the same time, it's like, this is what it is. They need to know this. So anytime I feel like it needs to be glorified, that's when I chime in, is like, tune into the Modern Assassin. Garrett Benner is definitely someone to reckon with, and keep an eye out for him because he's just growing bigger and bigger. He's on Tack Driver TV, Pursuit channel, part of the East Coast team. And
what?
If you ever want to bow fish out in Maryland, shit, look him up. Working Class Outdoorsman and Nick Mathers, and they'll get you on some snakeheads, definitely some carp, and on a good day, a lot of rays. So stay tuned.
Fuck yeah, D-Rock.
Yeah,
You're
appreciate
fisher,
it, brother.
You're welcome anytime, brother.
Amen. Thank you, brother.
And Ryan, dude, your time
Back
was
to the
freaking
dirty
perfect,
with you.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. I'm sure we'll all meet up sooner or later in the woods, playing and slaying.
Yeah, I like that, Ryan.
I dig it, guys.
Cheers, fellas.
It's good shit.
Cheers.
Look at that, man. Freaking people calling in to talk to you. Big time over there in freaking Maryland.
I told you my Ohio family was kind of crazy too. They a good bunch, man. For sure.
I like Ohio. They got good beer over there too. So
they got good deer, they got good genetics, and they have a good management plan.
Hell yeah, man. And it's not that far. I think I drove there in like 7 hours when I went from Wisconsin. It wasn't a big deal. It was just like a pretty enjoyable drive, actually. I haven't been back in a while, but
Yeah, you can do that for a weekend hunt. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That a lot of times I go out there, it takes me 6 hours from usually about 6.5 because I'll have my dog with me and have to make an extra stop. But yeah, 6.5 hours. I'm out there to Ryan's place, and yeah, sometimes it's just for a weekend to hunt.
Someone on the comments just called you guys Flatlanders. Oh. And then Bruce.
Oh yeah, where are they from?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Kurt, where are you from? You can chime in on the comments. I'll read it back. And then Bruce, the Haas, Ritter Clark says, "What's up, Garrett?" He's in the comments too, dropping in there.
What's up, Big Hoss? I was just speaking with the Arrow Doctor earlier today.
Booyah, man! Guy takes a lot of calls. A lot of calls.
Yes, he does. He's he's contributed to the success of many people. That's for sure.
He's like telemedicine for your
ethics
for your
inserts. I've heard you speak of ethics on here as well, but yeah, man, okay. So that buck I was telling you about, I shot on the ground. I saw this buck going down the hill one way, and where we were going to kind of cross, he was going to be too far ahead of me. So I grunted at him, and he actually turned and came back toward me. And I keep looking out the right side of this tree I'm hiding behind, thinking he's going to kind of step out the same way he was going. And I realized he's coming out to the left side of the tree. So I got back at full draw. And I don't know what this buck thought he saw or if he just didn't see anything, but he pinned his ears back, lowered his head down, and started walking down that hill crooked. Like he was postured up, ready to kick some ass. And I put that, I shoot an easy V sight, and I V'd up right on him. I let it rip loose, and that broadhead, an arrow, went in his chest, through his heart, out next to his balls, in his back leg, and then all the way through and out his back leg.
Oh my!
With them epic inserts, I literally, it was literally a full body pass through. Full body pass through.
And limb.
I mean, from chest to ass.
Jeez. You didn't have to cut the balls off. They're already done up for you.
It just ripped right all the way right through everything. And the funny thing is after I'm like, man, this is going to be a mess. When I go to gut this thing, it's going to be a mess. But it really wasn't too terrible. So I got lucky on that.
Watch that gut stench, man. Oof. I learned the hard way young about fucking trying to avoid that whole fucking mess. But, well, shit, dude. Let's hear about your most memorable hunt. Let's wrap up with that. Take your time on the story. This is by far one of my favorite segments of the show. Every memorable hunt that people share with me is entirely different for entirely different reasons because it all means something different to different people. So I'm really excited to hear what you got to say about your most memorable hunt.
Cool. Yeah, I do have a most memorable. I mean, there are a lot of them up there, especially with nearly all my hunts being on film and being able to look back at them. It's really cool. But one of my most memorable is a video I have up, and it's of a black powder Sitka stag hunt. So I had got hooked on chasing these Sitka deer in the marshes, and I wanted a stag. I didn't just want to kill a hind. I wanted a stag, and I worked at it for 6 years, and this is all public land. This is all public land. It's completely different terrain. You're talking about a mature animal that's made like 100 pounds is a big one. You're talking about these short little elk subspecies that live in knee-deep water and 10-foot tall grasses for the most part. A lot of times it's just miserable going after them, the conditions, the bugs. You want to talk about mosquitoes, you will die if you don't have a thermocell when you go out for these things. I've almost literally lost my mind from the buzzing. But yeah, my most memorable hunt was I went and set up a stand during bow season on public land, and then went back for the opening day of muzzleloader. And I kept hearing this splashing, thinking, okay, there's a Sika coming through the water over here. And it ended up being, I don't know, you probably ain't ever heard of them. They're called Delmarva fox squirrels. And they are squirrels that are the size of a house cat.
Holy shit.
I'm not sure what the actual weight is, but I'm talking like a 7-pound squirrel.
Wow.
Like, these things are huge. So he's running across this branch, going between two patches of land, and every time he jumps off the branch is springing and slapping the water. And that's what I'm hearing in the water, thinking it's a Sika deer. And at that same time, so I'm looking to my right, at that same time, there's a 6-point stag coming in at, I guess probably at my like 8 o'clock. Get spun around on him, get the camera spun around. And I mean, you're hunting these teeny little tiny pine trees. And I had 150 grain of powder. It was a cheap muzzleloader, and we could not get this damn thing to hold a pattern with 100 grain. So we're like, well, hell with it. Throw in 150 grain, and we were fucking drilling it. So I was shooting 150 grain of powder. I had this Sika at about 80 yards, and they call them marsh ghost for a reason. You see them, and then they just disappear. And sometimes it leaves you questioning whether you actually saw one or not, the way they just disappear in these frag grasses. And I had this thing at 82 yards. I drew back, dropped the hammer on him, and I almost blew my ass right out the tree. And when the smoke cleared, he was laying in a puddle kicking, and, I'm on cloud 9. And then he stood up and started trotting away, and I'm just thinking, go down. Like, please go down. And I hit him a little far back. He was walking, and the direction he had turned to go walk to, he would have eventually caught wind and fairly quick. So I busted him, and so I'm literally walking down these trails through 10-foot tall grasses, and these trails are only 6 to 8 inches wide. And I walked within probably about 5 feet of this thing and kicked it up. And this is 3 to 4 hours after the shot, I think it was. So I gave him time. And I kicked him up, and I mean, this thing, he's only 10 feet from me. I throw the gun up, go to pull the hammer back, and he just disappears. Like I said, like a ghost. There's a reason they're called marsh ghosts. And I just started running to where I thought he was going to go, and somehow I got ahead of him because he pops out behind me, and when I turn around, I throw the gun up, get the gun on him, and he just disappears again.
Holy shit.
And
he's probably super confused, too.
I knew... Oh, yeah. And I was surprised that I had even found him once. Yeah. Without having any type of blood trail or anything. I was surprised I found him once. I was really surprised I saw him a second time. And I figured if I just don't get him right now, I'll never see him again. And I just started running at him. I dropped my stick. I got water flooding in over my boots. I fell down arm deep into the muck in the marsh and just held the muzzleloader up high so it didn't get wet. And the wall of frag grass got so thick it was literally like a wall. And he ran into a tree. And he dropped when he hit the tree. And as soon as he stood back up, I just busted his ass the second time. I hit him with the muzzleloader literally from like 6 yards away.
Oh, man.
It was an insane hunt. Jeez. And then if you watch the video, you'll see right after I shoot him, I immediately look up and look around in every direction because that frag grass and that swamp, it's like running through a swampy cornfield. Like, there's no way to tell one direction from another or where you are, really. I mean, it's like being put in the middle of a cornfield and find your way out. Like, everything looks the same.
Yep.
So the first thing I did was look around and try to get a bearing of, okay, where the hell am I? Where's all my gear at? And how am I getting this thing out of here now? But that was on public land, and that was a 6-year quest. And I didn't get it done with a bow, but I did get a stag, and it was a 3x3, which, the genetics are down there. They do get a 4x4, but it's very, very rare. Most of the time you get a 3x3, they just get bigger and bigger. So it was the biggest trophy, even though it's not the biggest animal I've taken, by far isn't the biggest score. That was
Sounds
my
like
biggest trophy and most memorable hunt.
Animal that you ever got, but dude,
right? That's why they're illegal though. But yeah, I'm gonna have to post a video and tag you in it because I'm not kidding. These are squirrels that have ears like bobcat. Yeah, they got ears like bobcat, but it's a squirrel the size of like a frickin' house cat.
Man, my cats have a field day with that, especially one of them. That's a great story, man. That's a super freaking fun story. That's crazy. I've been in cattails. I've almost gotten lost in them. I can relate to that degree. I've never hunted a Sitka stag in my life. I know nothing about them. They sound pretty fucking resilient, but that guy was confused as shit, man. When you found him, he's probably like, "Holy shit, where'd this guy come from?"
He and I both, man. He and I both. And like I said, if you or any of the listeners want to check that out, it is on my YouTube, The Modern Assassins, and I think it was titled just Black Powder Sitka Stag or Sitka Stag Black Powder, something like that. In that hunt, I had 3 to 4 different cameras running. And that, from my truck to set up, it's nearing a couple miles and it takes a couple hours.
Wow. That's wicked.
Ain't nothing easy about it, that's for sure.
So we've covered a bunch of ground. Tell people the number of things you got going on. We got some things going on with TV. We got some things going on with manufacturing. We got some things going on with filming and YouTube. You got your website. Where do people go to check all this shit out? Like, how do they find The Modern Assassin short of giving you a Google search? Where do you want to direct people to, man?
Man, I don't even know where I'm at, where to tell everyone else where to find. But yeah, now, most of my stuff, I'm pretty current with Instagram. That's where I'm the most current at, _modern_assassin. The Modern Assassin or themodernassassins.com. That's my website. YouTube, The Modern Assassins. And yeah, I'm working with Wild Edge right now, on releasing, I don't know, this may be the first time this is dropped on a podcast too. So, here we go, Drew. Wild Edge will be coming out with their own saddle and will be the complete mobile hunting system. They have the steps. I'm working with them on the design on new bags. I guess another little leak, man. You're getting all the details. You caught me right at the right time and short notice too, but you getting all the details. I have my own camouflage pattern coming out.
What? Dude,
something that I have been.
Is it skin camouflage?
Go ahead. It's
I've seen you wearing it already.
It's a. No, this is I've come up with a new camouflage that I spoke a little bit about it, but now it's time to tell it is coming out. It'll be the Modern Assassin camouflage. I haven't figured out a name and all for it yet, but it will be featured on the Wild Edge saddles that are being made in partner with Arrow Hunter. I have a camo arm coming out.
Yeah, dude, shit, you got a lot of irons in the fire, man, but it's good shit.
Dude, you got no idea, man. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm always into not just something, but 10 things. But yeah, I got the camera arm coming out. It is designed for packability, mobile hunting, saddle hunting, I've designed this camera arm from the bottom up with Matt Garris out on a limb manufacturing from, just all my time and experience and my Franken arm. And your buddy Greg Tubbs, I think, can attest to the thought and design and what this thing has become, the Assassin Reach. So that'll be coming out. I'm now filming as the Modern Assassin for Tack Driver TV for the Pursuit channel. And, as far as the podcast game goes, this and everything else, I'll just say you may be hearing me more and more around.
Well, let's just get you back on, dude. When we get into hunting season, if you can find time out of the woods to shoot the shit on the Where to Hunt podcast and connect with people, let's do it again, man. I appreciate you freaking coming on the show today.
Man, 100%. I had a blast. I appreciate D-Rock and Ryan calling in. I mean, and that was perfect time for Ryan to call in,
right.
Especially him being a private land hunter, but taking the mentality to a mobile game this year because he was struggling. I mean, he was having trouble on his own property, and it's like, man, it's just not, things just aren't laying out the same as they are. So he had to take a new approach and observe and everything and abandon his set stands and go set other stands and get mobile with it. Sure, it was private land and he had the deer, but like I said, in a way, he almost limited himself. But yeah, man, I had a fucking blast. D-Rock calling in. He's always a trip. I'm game to, kind of be on here with you again, or for sure I'll be just calling in.
Yeah, dude, that's always an option too, man. The lines are open. We'll take anybody, even you.
Even me. I like it. Just remember, sometimes I come with a explicit label, right? Disclaimer, apparently.
Okay. All right, man, I'm going to go ahead and end the line streams. Everybody that watched in the show today, thanks so much. I'll be getting this produced and put out in a podcast land this evening. So stay tuned, and it'll be coming at you, tonight and tomorrow morning for everybody on their commutes.